Welcome to the Circle Center. The Circle Center is a creation of Avatar Mayor Baba's Circle of Friends. We are delighted to have it. We're a 501c3 corporation. We have a donation box somewhere back there. I'll try to make sure it's available. I am honored today to introduce Jay Steptoe, Terry Johnson, and Cassandra Smith, all of course from Sufism Reoriented. And they're going to talk mainly about an initiative they've done here in Myrtle Beach called Francis in the Dunes. This is, I believe, the last initiative of two others they've done, White Pony Express in Contra Costa County, California, and I don't know what the DC program is called, but they've done one in Washington, DC. They're all different, but they're all the same. Before I do that, I want to ask you a question. Very important question, so think back and meditate on it. How many of you in your life can remember one perfect day? One day that transported you, exceeded your expectations, opened up new possibilities of life. It may be the day that you heard of Mayor Baba, it may not be, but I just want a show of hands. Just one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Me too. If you think back, that day changed you. It altered you perhaps more than you have any conception. Certainly did me. And at the time it happens, you never generally recognize it. But as time passes, you do. I say that because what you'll be hearing you might think is a charity, Francis in the Dunes. But it's not a charity at all, even though it's 501c3. What it is really a way of extending consciousness, particularly to people who, quite frankly, have not been born at the starting line. Many of them have been way behind the starting line and have never known even the kinds of mediocre quotidian things that happen to us as middle-class people. And ideally, perhaps, it's provided a perfect day for some of them so that it's opened up a new heaven and a new earth. And with that, I will give you to the first presenter.
Which is me?
Terry Johnson.
And we were adjusting the screen so that I could see the pictures, and so I'm going to let Jay do that while I'm holding two microphones. So nice to meet you. I am the director of Francis in the Schools and Francis in the, following Francis in general, and we have programs underneath that, and all of us will talk about one version or another of them. Thank you, Jay. Careful not to trip. So do I put this part here, I think, right? All right. So let's see if I can manage not to mess things up. All right. So just those of you who don't know me, I am the music director at Sufism Reoriented, and my mom met Baba in 1956 here in Myrtle Beach when she was very young, and my father is kind of known for having videotaped or taken the film of Baba in the East-West gathering in East Hassan. So we have long time been Baba lovers, and such a privilege to be here. So, Following Francis is a 501c3 that Murshid O'Connor started in 2011, and she wanted it to be a program. Let's see, this is not quite working, Jay. Maybe I just can hand it.
I will fix it.
No, I can do it this way. I'd rather do it this way. So she felt strongly that it was, she would walk vigorously throughout San Francisco and other places, and it was her feeling that everybody deserves happiness. And she would see many, many, many marginalized communities wherever she went. And she said happiness and respect are the birthright of everyone. Following Francis, her program that she had imagined would draw inspiration from the life and universal values of Francis of Assisi and share our time and energy and resources to help children, families, and neighborhoods claim this birthright. And she felt that when you remove those things that keep people from experiencing themselves, take them out of the margins and bring them to the mainstream, they could reclaim their heritage, which is happiness, and keep them close to the center of their lives. There's a cute story later on that I'll share with you that identifies this and ties in with what Dennis was just saying about how a seminal moment changes us. You know, schools often say, well, you know, why aren't you reading to them every day? Why are you doing this one giant event? But one moment that is real and reaffirms you to your center is very, very seminal. So, all right, so this is Dr. Carol, and then these are the founding principles. They're on our website, you could see them, but basically that everything is done in love, and that is the predominant. We just carry Meher Baba. We don't speak of Meher Baba. We don't really teach them about Francis except in the play, but here in Myrtle Beach, I would be surprised if the children really understood why we call the program Francis in the Dunes. It's not necessary. It's just living action of all the volunteers, so many of whom are standing right here. They could give this talk better than me. So perhaps you've gotten to see this. All of these are things that we'll talk in our presentation about, because Cassandra and Jay have different areas they'll focus on too. So Dr. Connor in California started this program for schools. She thought to find the most marginalized school districts where the kids can't afford and the parents cannot afford field trips, and get them a day out of school that is all about them. Focus on them, reaffirm their value, let the schools, and the schools were all for this because it teaches self-worth and social emotional growth are part of curriculum standards, but they are not easily implemented in the schools because we have to teach math and science and other things. So these were events for anywhere from 250 sometimes to 1,400 children. We sometimes had 24 buses, and as you'll see from a little chart later on, as Murshida said, if organization is love, we really demonstrate that we love them because we're very organized. So the events were field trips for children, and the whole school, or whatever grades in the school, would come, and it was about the namesake of the San Francisco Bay Area, which is Francis of Assisi, and he is in their history books. And so it's not a religious program, it's a social studies program. It isn't, none of us were purporting any religious values. We were just telling his life and bringing it to modern day. The narrator brings this to, like, you know, his relationship with the leper, very much like our relationship with the homeless in our area, and all of the areas were specified in the play. So this is little scenes of the play. It's very dynamic. Anybody who's a dark figure that you have to stand up against is usually portrayed as a 10-foot puppet. There's dance, it's lively. This was in Baltimore when this is in North Washington, D.C. Northwest Washington, thank you, Jay. And this is in Georgetown University. So we've done the program, and Murshida wanted the children to have a fair after, sort of an Umbrian-esque type fair. And there was face painting. Those of you who know Patrick Beldiu, that's one of his creations. So it was face painting, flower arranging, because all of these things tie in with Francis of Assisi. Games, sometimes origami, or visits with animals. There were all sorts of activities that we've done depending on what the interests of the schools and the children are. And at the end, Murshida herself would always like to thank the children for coming and give them a takeaway gift. And sometimes it had a little self-affirming message on it that was just a quote from the play, nothing religious, but very self-affirming. And then they would take this home, and the gifts were usually eye-popping, you know, like, oh my gosh, so delicious. And every one of them was different. So this just happens to be one, but she would thank all of the children individually. And they would be so cute. They'd say, she knows my name, she knows my name, but they were wearing a name tag, so they thought that she knew my name. Anyway, so this is a map of our layout, of one event, so it just shows you we really, really, really tried to make things loving and easy for the children. So when Murshida, and so this is that quote from Merwan Shafa. Merwan was living in New York, and we were coming to New York to offer a program, and and he said, you know, Terry, I thought you were exaggerating, speaking in cliches when you told me about the impact of Francis on the children. But I was leading a group of sixth graders when it was time for us to leave the park. We started walking back to the buses, and I heard one of the girls speaking more to herself than to her classmates, and she said, I feel like we've been treated like royalty. I feel like I'm a princess. And she glanced back at the beautiful park and commented, but it's over now, and we have to go back. And then she looked ahead at the buses and said to her friends, we will always have today. So that is what Murshida told us, the top sentence. She said, I want every child treated as though they are the kings and queens, the royal, their father is the great king. No exception. You treat every one of them as you would treat me, or anyone, as if Baba's standing right near us. And so that is what we brought then when she moved to and started living here, especially during the summer months in Myrtle Beach. She wanted the children to come to Yupon Dunes. She wanted them to enjoy the property as their beach house. And believe me, they think that's their beach house. And Jake and Cassandra can reaffirm that. Actually, many of you can. So they come sometimes once, sometimes twice a week. It depends what the program allows and what our coverage is. They have programs that are science-related, dance or theater-related. They always get a very delicious lunch. This has become one of a small team led by Cassandra's most nurturing part. The children have told us, oh, I'm sorry, I thought I had more pictures. I do have more pictures of lunch. This is just an overview. I'm just showing you that Murshida wanted the children to just feel like the house was theirs. She said many of the kids don't get to go to the beach. She took the same idea of giving a closing gift treat. And people later will talk to you about some of these elements about the education programs. Now, there are two programs now. One is for the younger children and one is for the older children, because as we've been here since 2018, many of the children have become teenagers and their needs are a little different. We wanted to honor that. So Murshida had a program for the teens that is a little bit different. She gave us broad sketches of it, and we've tried to see what we can do with making it more relevant. But in general, I'm just going to show you some slides of the children's outings. This is them at their beach house. Oftentimes there are local volunteers or visitors coming to Myrtle Beach that we have a slip and slide that is super popular, especially with swimming lessons. Sorry to be going so fast, but we have so many things to share with you, and I think all of you just can feel that it's, oh, sorry, I have that same slide twice, that it's family. All of them, you know, no matter what happens at the projects, when they come there, somehow the grounds where Baba was just balance everything, and we rarely have the kind of clashes that happen when you're just living with each other. All of this becomes just family and people knowing that they're loved, and even if they start something that they finish it quickly and it moves on. So here's some lunches. Cassandra has a huge list of delicious lunches, and the children have told us afterwards as they became teenagers and we've interviewed them about the project that one of their favorite events was lunch, because they all sat down at the table to eat together, and that isn't easy in their homes. Many of them don't have dinner tables, and they don't have an opportunity to sit down to a meal together. They eat, you know, sometimes microwave food. And after you finish, you sometimes get to play on the point or visit with Mr. J, and we sometimes have saxophone players or musicians or other things. So the games that the kids have while they are visitors range from, music projects to crafts, or it depends who's visiting. We try to galvanize the skills, use the skills. This is Jay's pointing to the little girl in the foreground is actually running this event. And you'll see later that sometimes the children themselves, this is try to learn something about vegetables, which is not really well received. But he's like, finally, one I'm good with. The broccoli's okay. They were rating the vegetables, and most of them got, you can see them looking, and his brother next to him has probably not got the same rating as he does. But there's like Coco on the left doing actually the art, the face painting after several years of being face painted. Now she's taken over. And these are some activities. You see Jeff on the left there teaching the kids when they receive. We'll go into how they have these bikes, but how to care for them. And then somebody else is going to talk about Christmas, but we do different things year-round. So I'm going to jump to the teen program. And the teen program is kind of moving. Mershida originally wanted the children, when we left after the summer, to have pen pals, and for us to write and keep in touch with them and send them little, maybe some books, or if they were interested in art, some art supplies. Just keep in touch. Not expecting them to write back because they didn't have outgoing mail, and even if they did, they would lose the stamp or the envelope or whatever. Not to have an expectation of return, but just to keep them knowing that we cared about them and they were family. And that was helpful, but as they became teenagers, Mershida also wanted to see that one of the things that marginalizes the kids is if they want to be on the basketball team, and you have to have the jersey and the shoes and pay the dues, you can't. Your parent has very limited resources, and if they get a job, it raises their rent in the in the HUD housing. So she wanted us to have a system of helping with that. Just as we would care for our own children, we would pay for that. So we would pay the music teacher, we'd pay the tutor, we would pay for their Boys and Girls Club membership. Our Robert and my children are older, we would just take them on, and that would be our gift. No tax recompense for that. So those happen with music lessons, sports, counseling, dance classes, but we also started meeting with the teens to talk to them about financial management. Here's a young girl reading a letter. It was ironic that her pen pal wrote her, having never met her. He was an artist and she's an artist. And in that picture, the little boy is pointing that the character in the picture is wearing a fluorescent yellow shirt, and he's like, and she happens to be wearing a fluorescent yellow shirt reading the letter. Only Mayor Baba makes these things happen, because we could have delivered that letter any day, and but she was mesmerized by it. And so these are the teens meeting on the Dunes Crest patio. Oh, I'm sorry, this is out of order. So this young man is going to start tutoring. He has now been for 2 years tutoring with someone in California on Barton Method because he was struggling with reading as a 5th grader, and now he's getting much stronger. We were showing him how to use his Chromebook, but when you have major dyslexia, putting in your passcode is a serious issue, so it took some time to help him. This is Big Mike. Those of you who know Mike Chestnut, he's on the city council, but he also has his own job, and so he has his own business. He was teaching the children how he became an entrepreneur. Quay used to live in the projects. She also has her own business, and so she came and talked to them, and then we have breakout sessions with the teens. What are you interested in? This young man, Nathan Pastor, is counseling and listening to them. What would be the next steps? How do you plan? How do you make your progress toward what you want, whatever those things are? And the teenagers were very, very interested in these. Timing is everything, because we tried this softly a little while earlier and it didn't quite take off. And the teens told us that even though they loved that, they still missed their day, their outing. So we put back in the swimming, put back in volleyball and some other things. But that is the teen and younger children's outing. I'll give you a moment of silence since I raced through that. Yeah, I can, yeah, it's just, I'm just using the arrow. And so Cassandra's...
Show her the arrow. She's
yeah,
not
it's just the
not an
advance arrow.
person.
Okay. And if you need me to hold your no, you're going to be okay?
Yep, I hope so.
How are you going to do it?
I think you're going to need me to hold
There's a lot of
this.
stuff here.
Yes.
No, I don't want you to hold
Okay,
it.
all right.
I can put it here.
Great.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the work that Francis in the Dunes does during what a lot of people call the off-season. And the off-season is the majority of months of the year when the summer outings are not happening. During that time, we support the families in a way that helps them to live their lives more like mainstream families do. And many of you sitting here are very familiar with the program and super helpful to make it happen. So the first thing, the different types of family support that we're talking about are the groceries, household supplies, clothing, school supplies, gifts, and beds. Okay, now I press a button. Yay. Okay. So first of all, this is Food Line. And one of the things that we like to do as often as we can do it is support the grocery shopping for the families. We use the Food Line on 38th Avenue. And so we invite the moms to come and shop, and we give them a budget, and then we give them a list of foods that Francis will buy, which is mostly fresh meat, fresh fish, fresh vegetables, fruits, that kind of thing, not packaged goods and canned goods and dry goods and that kind of thing. So the moms love it. And this picture here is one of the moms, Brene, and it works very, very well. And I think that this is empowering for the moms. Instead of us buying the food and delivering it to them, they get to shop just the way that any mainstream mom would do, and choose what they want for their family, what they know they like to cook, and what their family likes to eat. There's Jay. We all participate in this work, and many of you do. Oh, and one more slide. Okay, everybody who's been there recognizes this. So the next thing that we do, we like to help the families so that their environment that they live in is clean and comfortable. And one of the ways that we do that is what we call household supplies. And so we have a shopping list, which includes things to keep the house clean, paper goods, and toiletry items. And we put together a list of shoppers, many of whom are here. And we all head out to Walmart, although some of us actually do online now, but I even hate it online. So we go out to Walmart and we do this shopping, and it's mounds and mounds of stuff, as you can kind of see. And then we have a wonderful place to work in Myrtle Beach. This household basement has been designed for this kind of work. We call it the inlet, for those of you who've been there. And fortunately, we're able to mound up all of these things. It begins to look like Walmart's. And this is the end product. We go through the exercise of sorting everything that we've had. Some things are generic to all families. Some things are like toothbrushes. You got to give them to the number of kids, or deodorants you give based on the number of girls and the number of guys and all that kind of stuff. So some of it is personal. And in the end, what we end up with are one big bag with paper goods in it and one smaller bag with heavy things in it for every family. Then we all get together, go down to Carver, and deliver these things to the different households. Now this slide has to do with shoes. Another thing that we do, again, when we can, is provide clothing and shoes to the children, and that's always kind of a hard thing to do. But just in the last few days, we've been working on this, and the way it works two ways now. One is that we go to the mall, literally sit in the mall outside of the stores. And the kids and the moms will go into the stores and choose the shoes or the clothes that they want. And then when they're ready, they call us or they come and get us, and we go over and pay for it, again, within our budget. We also, this is another shoe picture, we just recently now have a way for the moms to shop online and then share their carts with the people who are on our clothing team. And then those people on the clothing team purchase the items and just ship them to the original mom, which we hope will work really well. So those are the kinds of things that we do to support the family households. Okay, so another thing we do are gifts. This is a kind of thing that just hopefully helps to keep everybody's spirits high, especially around occasions, when it is kind of nice to be receiving a gift if you weren't expecting a gift from anyone else in the world that you might know. So we try to do gifts at Christmas time, Halloween, Easter, and birthdays. And I want to go to the birthdays first. So we have 141 people on our contact list for Carver. That's a lot of birthdays out of 365 days. And there are a team of people who are here who go to Food Lion and buy the cakes and then deliver the birthday cakes to the children. We all try to do the best we can to sing happy birthday. I think the families are very patient with us because if we ask them to sing, my guess is it would carry off a lot better. But anyway, it's a wonderful team that does this, and it's a very frequent piece of work.
I just want to add one little story about that because they're so regular about everybody's birthday every year that one year a mother called me and she said, "Is everything okay?" And there had been an accident on the way to making a delivery that day. And I'd heard of the accident, but I didn't know who was the recipient. But the mother called and said, "Is everything okay?" She said, "Today's my birthday, and I know you would have delivered a birthday bouquet to me." And actually, the picture that they'd sent to me of the accident, there was a bouquet on the middle of the street. And the mother said, is everybody okay? Because I didn't get my birthday. And she said, "I understand, I just want to be sure they're okay." And of course, they weren't okay. But she knew that we would have remembered the birthday, so it's very sweet.
Yeah, they count on it. And when they're having birthday parties, the kids count on it, which is really also very special because the cakes that are made individually for each of these cakes at the Food Line have their names on it, hopefully spelled correctly. That's tricky. Okay, so these next couple of slides have to do with shopping. Again, an enabling thing, not this last Christmas, but the Christmas before, we offered to the moms that they could do their Christmas shopping at Target. And again, we gave them a budget. And so they all were able to go through the store, pick what they wanted to get for their kids, and then when they came to the checkout, we paid for them. So that was a very happy event for the moms, and I'm sure when the kids got the gifts, a happy event for the children as well. This is another picture of being at Target, another family. And then there's several of these pictures, but I think the main message here as we go through them, because we do gifts for these various events during the year, we always like to make them as beautiful as they can be. And we're always making 36 or more of those gifts. And so we all get together and we sort and put these items into all these special bags, and then we wrap them and we fix them up as best we can. The idea being that when someone receives a gift that is wrapped like this in a special way, there's one of our people. This is a Christmas gift from last year. There's another of our people carrying Christmas gifts. Jay's going to talk about the Christmas party we did this year, and that's where those gifts are headed. One Christmas, not this Christmas, but the Christmas before, we went to Atlantic Beach. And Jay and I were there, and we bought bicycles. It started actually with a bicycle contribution that Cliff Tall made, And to that, we added a bunch of bicycles that Frances bought for the kids at Atlantic Beach. Here's the families that we met there. Here are gifts that we also brought along with the bicycles, and here are the bicycles, and here are the kids choosing their own bicycles. So that was really a marvelous event for these children, and there were a few children who couldn't get them, so Jay and I had to rush out to Walmart after the party and buy the bicycles. And the wonderful thing, I think I took out the picture of the policeman, but there was a policeman there who likes bicycles. And he said, I'll look after the bikes, I'll help the kids, I'll teach them how to ride and everything like that. So we were heartened by that. This obviously is Halloween. Yeah, Halloween's before Easter. Okay, so in this example, Mershida picked the container, Mershida Connor. She loved these great big huge gift containers because as a child you can imagine if you got a great big gift, nothing could be much better than that. And these are Halloween containers. I think we did them one for each family. And you can't tell this in the picture, but one of the special things about this gift is that each child got a handmade stuffy toy that was actually knitted by one of our companions in Walnut Creek, who had the most incredible talent to be able to make like an elephant, to knit an elephant, or knit a goose. And so they were very, very beautiful and very special. But they don't compare to the Easter basket that Mershida picked. When Terry and I saw this, we went like, OMG, what are we going to put in this guy? Yeah, so we went to Bed Bath & Beyond and bought a blanket to put in the bottom. But you can see how gorgeous it is. And look how beautiful this young girl is with her Easter animal bunny and her bag. And here's another family receiving. You can see how huge they are. So I'm sure those kids would remember that for a very long time. These are Easter gifts from another year, just showing again how we put them together with treats inside of the bags and try and make the bags as cute and fun as they can be. Here's yet another example. Here is Jean delivering.
That was one of the kids.
That was. Here's another photo of the gifts that we were delivering. And here's a family receiving them. Another family. And this is the last of the delivery photos that we've got from the season, showing another folks you know helping us with deliveries done. That is the Carver apartments behind them, for those of you who are not familiar with it. And you can see they have a helper. That's one of the fun things when we're doing these deliveries. We go down there, and oftentimes if the weather, especially if the weather is good, the kids will come running out. Can we help? Can we help? Can we help? We're always a little hesitant because, you know, yeah, this one goes to A1, you give it to a kid who can't read. Great, you know, off they go. It can be a little confusing, but it is delightful, and they actually love it when it happens. So the last couple of slides I'm going to show aren't about gifts, but they are about maintaining a household in the way that mainstream families would do. And so one of the things that Mershida Connor wanted was that every child should have a bed, because in mainstream America, every child has a bed. So we do that. This is, I'm not sure where the photo, this is mostly Jay's project.
Strand storage.
Strand storage, okay. And here is a mattress being delivered, and here is the bed being assembled in one of the Carver apartments. So that's my part of the talk, and I'm going to turn it over now to Jay. Jay's going to talk about special events.
Thank you. Thanks for your indulgence. I know this is long. We just thought of this would be as, you know, family movie showing our friends here what this was like. One of the things it's important to know is that Mershida Connor designed every aspect of all of these programs. The events that were picked, the nature of the activity, and the reason that was important is because I think many of you know before she took a role as Mershida, she was a clinical psychologist, and her specialty was adolescent development. So she knew what these kids needed in a way that, of course, I didn't. And I mean, Terry did, because she teaches at that level. And so all of these things are, as has been said, things that kids would get normally. So we had a fancy clicker that has disappeared during the...
Right there.
No, it doesn't work because it has to be...
It didn't disappear, just
once it
broke.
crashed,
I see.
nobody dared touch this again. So this was Christmas last year. And it was an event that we had not done since the pandemic. So it was big. There's Mrs. Claus and her helper. This is at what's called Mayor Mance, which is at 3501 North Ocean Boulevard, the corner there. And it's this large house that is perfect for this kind of event. And we have done a few things there. That's Peter Goodman as Santa. And I think you may know Tudor, who's Santa's elf. The sleigh was Tudor's Corvette with gifts on the top. There they are giving the gifts out each by name. Mrs. Claus would bring them downstairs, and Peter would ho them to the kids. And this is what it was like. And some of these kids, this was tough. These are tough backgrounds, and this is kind of, the pictures are melting for these kids. They were so happy. This is a family that we've worked with. I'm not going to run this, but it looks really lovely, but this is what it's like. Just noisy. So there are other activities, and the reason I'm just showing these is, kids in a normal family we call them outings or field trips, but the parents take them places. And these kids don't get taken places. They're often latchkey kids, and they live in these small units. They don't get to go places. So we do things when we can. This was a huge hit. I'm just going to quick go through this, but this was out of Little River summer before last. And guess what? We saw dolphins and sea turtles. You don't always get to see those, as you know. And this was, of course, the big hit was the ride back, where it was really rough, and kids loved it. Then there's some amazing trips we've done. Do you know Pearl Friar and the Topiary Garden? It's in Bishopville. It's maybe 2 hours from here, 3 hours. Long drive, so we get buses. We had lunch on the way. But the hit of the day was, and I just want you to see what these, if you're not familiar with this, there are movies made on this man. But what was really special, and Terry was able to arrange, was Pearl Friar welcoming. He's not well. He doesn't walk. He and his wife were so thrilled, and they see groups every day. China was there right after us. So there are people from all over the world that come to see this. But he saw each of the kids. They brought him gifts. That's his wife to the left. All the kids got to talk with him. He was lovely. He couldn't take them around, he kept saying, but he wanted them to walk. So this was Topiary Garden. And we've done other stuff with the kids this was at a local landscaper where 5 Star Farms, which is one of these companies that brings animals to places. We've used them before at the Nativity and other places. So they brought him to this wonderful farm in Sacristy last June. And this was a big surprise for me, how the kids had never had this experience of being close to animals. They got to talk with some of the trainers. Some of these are animals that were not brought in for this thing. They were there. If you ever want to make a hit with a kid, get a baby wallaby. Look at this. Look at this. This was unbelievable. Then the baby wallaby had to be put away. It was too many kids. But they taught them how to groom animals. Chickens were a surprise for some. And what they loved most, oops, I'm going to go back there, was just hanging out with each other, as Terry or Cassandra said. And they don't get to do that. So here we are, as they said, visiting. it was a wonderful day.
It made me think of that when one of the children was working at the spiritual center here, and one of the boys came with me to pick him up, and so, Jay was showing you how much they like just sitting in nature, because they're, even though the Myrtle Beach is so lush, they're really in a kind of a city environment. They're not really going to nature. And so one of the boys came with me to pick up his sister who was helping here with Regina on the spiritual center, and we just drove into the campus. We just drove onto the spiritual center. We weren't even 100 yards, and he breathed super deeply. He's about 12. He said, "This place makes me want to put my phone away forever." I thought, wow. Perfect.
I was like, you just hit the nail on the head.
So
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So to end with this, and then we were open to discussion or questions or food or whatever you would like. One of the things that Mercer Connor said was the kids have beds, they have tutoring after school, they have bikes, they get to go on field trips, and they go to Washington, D.C. when they're in school. So she wanted, to our astonishment, a trip to Washington, D.C. A friend of ours made a wonderful film that we hope will run.
Did you lose your microphone?
He's gonna get it.
It's not. I'm just going to play it, Dennis.
Okay. Here you go.
Oh, no, wait. Oh, it's canceled. There you
Like
go.
a rose in the garden, water it and tend to it every day. Our hearts are like buds on the same stem, growing together and learning the way to love. Love, 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 love. Learning the way to love. Grows like a rose in the garden, water it and tend to it every day. Our hearts are like buds on the same stem, growing together and learning the way to love. Love, 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 love. Learning the way to
Jewels of
love.
the mind and treasures of the heart. Lifetime of learning, held in loving form. Its thoughts, words, and deeds, and colors now refined as gems of the heart to the jewels of the mind. To the love grows like a rose. Yeah, love grows like a rose. Yeah, water it, tend to it every day. Growing together and learning the way to the love. Yeah.
Love, 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 love grows like a rose in the garden, water it and tend to it every day. Our hearts are like buds on the same stem, growing together and learning the way to love. Love, 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 love. Learning the way to love. Love, 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 love. Learning the way to love.
This was at a local Baptist church. They went to a gospel service.
And Rashida asked us to buy nice clothes so that if they had special
Yeah, they had special outfits to come to DC. This was Plaid Shirt Day. Took him to the Franciscan Basilica in Washington. This is St. Francis in the Holy Land. These are the monks. And we did a program there, and this is outside Manchester House. We stayed in the neighborhood in our homes and in Manchester. then they took metro everywhere, buses and trains. She wanted them, no special driving. She wanted them to learn how to use the subway. So they did, first time. Some of them had never been in elevators or escalators. This is a water park near 16th Street. An entire week of activities. Big pit, the drum circle, Meridian Hill Park, all of the African American drummers, but really from people all over the world now. This is our dancer. She's teaching people earlier how to dance. Now she's at the drum circle, but you'll see other kids now. Everybody welcome there, welcome them there, and help them how to do drum circles.
Once I met a hippo at a water hole. Asked him how come he was a happy soul. He said, keep on dancing, dance your blues away.
Obviously, using the
Keep
natural
off your nose and wiggle your toes, dance your blues away. Come on, baby, come on, child, dance your blues away. You know today's the day. With all the love in your heart, dance your blues away. Medicine.
When every heart shall beat as one, and all mankind
Lincoln's
unite, then every land beneath the sun shall shine with truth and light. For darkness dwells in selfishness, and light in unity. When every heart shall beat as one, then one with truth will be. When in my eyes you see yourself, and I see me in yours, then we shall share the greatest wealth, whose lustrous glow endures. For love increases when it's shared, and leads to unity. Through love our hearts shall beat as one in the new humanity.
Thank you. Dennis wanted me to show you where else we followed Francis. We followed him to Myrtle Beach, and then we ended up following him to Washington, where we have a large program there that is food distribution that is feeding thousands of people now, and volunteers from all over the community. We've hired people to work on this program now. We have 3 trucks. It's a mini White Pony Express, but it's doing groceries. It's not supplying shelters and churches. It's actually providing food directly that go directly to families in bags. And we were involved with Ukraine. We have a diapers program. It's very full, and it's kind of magical. So we're not going to talk about that because there's a thin line between TMI and WTMI, which is way too much information. So with that, I think we'll end, and maybe we can answer some questions. Sorry?
You might say the name in case people want to look it up.
Yeah,
on
it's
the
on our,
website.
well, the website is followingfrancis.org, and the programs are listed under there. One in Washington is called Francis on the Hill, and it's Meridian Hill, which is a iconic park in Washington. It's also the center of the Hispanic community in Washington. And we started this food program at the beginning of the pandemic. And these were families that could not get stimulus check. Many of them are undocumented. and who weren't available for any of the food stamps or any of the programs that you would have supporting people during the pandemic. So we took people who didn't need their stimulus check were given, there was what were they, 3 rounds, a $1,300 round and a $600. So people donated that money and they were given directly to families that were identified by local. We worked with churches, we worked with the Hispanic Health Center, we worked with the main Hispanic high school, multilingual high school, various people who knew where the quote homeless families were, the families in greatest need. And then we were approached by the Greater DC Diaper Bank to become a distribution hub for them. So it's a whole other story, it's a whole other hour, and there's a whole lot more information about all of this. But some of it's on the website, it's a little bit dated. Francis on the Hill is the Washington program.
And they were all Marshado's wish, and so Jay took that forward, and she wanted, that was part of COVID response. And it's
Yeah, so it's continued. So thanks for your patience.
So we're here.
Angela.
Are you not taking questions?
Yeah, we are.
Oh, good. Well, why don't you all get up there?
For sure.
We can all have a-
Is this the right mic, Dennis? Is this the right, this?
So we all love serendipity, but Francis on the Hill, the Carver district, where you're at with the Carver families, that was historically known as the Hill.
That's
So
right. That's
Francis on the Hill was
Yeah.
home there.
But except we're in the dunes.
I
A
understand.
lot of those too.
right. Well, it used
I
to
know,
be.
I don't understand where it came from.
In
Yeah,
fact, the
they've
hill
told
is
us.
undoubtedly
Angela
doomed,
was-
so.
Yeah, they had told us that. Yes,
I
please,
guess
Angela.
2 questions come to mind. How do you gain their trust, and how do you prevent jealousy from those who aren't in the program? So 2 questions.
Those are good questions, and maybe people feel free, since we haven't practiced this. When Marshida first asked us to offer something, we did a lot of research throughout the area. And the helpful thing about Carver is it's a prescribed neighborhood with a one-way in and one-way out. So nobody is your neighbor who isn't included. It's just an apartment complex. And that was one of the main reasons we chose Carver. It's, yeah,
How
but
did you build trust? How
Yeah.
did they?
Well, we've been there 6 years, and we started out, the idea of the program is that we are not a day camp, and we're not licensed as a day camp, and I have my lawyer that's been very careful with me through all of this, keeping us straight with the South Carolina regs. And we are not responsible for these children. So the conceit was that the mothers would bring the children, or some older sibling, or a neighbor, or whatever. And that is still our pretend, but now it's here, I'm here. They know you, and we had an event yesterday that just struck me as how much things have changed. I mean, the kids we see them almost every day in the summer, and Cassandra, once or twice a week during the year.
Not that frequently, but of course they recognize that we're around, and we come around whenever there's a special occasion, a special season.
Yeah. So they're just you're just folks. But the other part of your question is really important because it goes to the core of everything. Mershida was not interested in serving the city of Myrtle Beach. That was not her work. She was working, the kind of work they do is very specific. And in Washington, Mershid Walker who worked in this program, he lived in Washington, said, I am not interested in stats. I am not interested in metrics. I'm interested in giving the food we're given to people who need it. And so, although the stats are big and hard to maintain because of volunteer challenges, they've always been very clear with us that they're not interested in what do you think of as social work? That's not what this is. This is showing people love in a deep way, and in a way that's received in silence and may not be fully understood by the giver or the receiver. But that's the work.
And that's kind of is the answer to that other question. It wasn't quick that they came to trust us. I don't think anybody would with their children. And they really are very protective even across with each other who watches their children. So it took a while, and now it's come to the point where, you know, the children will text or the moms will text me, and if I haven't answered in like 15 minutes, there's a row of question marks. It's like, well, wait a minute, I'm teaching school right now. But it's like, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? It's because they feel like your family, you should have answered right away. And I think that it took a little while for them to gain trust. But you know, now we come to the door and they're like, she's upstairs. Go talk to her yourself. And so but it wasn't quick.
I heard something the other day, I'm down there often, and a new family moved in. And the mother said, who are these people? And the neighbor said, I don't know. God told them to take care of us. Aww. And they do.
Oh.
Wow. How true, huh? Yeah.
How tired were you two at the end of each day in the DC tour?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. Poor Jay, and Walker was the main, you know, organizer. He's really good at that, and Jay is very, very good at that. But for me, I could have a field trip every day of my life. I love them. They're like, I said, let's do them back to back. They're like, I can understand that. It is a lot when you have the towel washing and all that stuff. It does become a lot. But it's very sweet. They're so excited. They're so happy. And the children, Jay was saying this without the microphone, but I think you want to reiterate where they were staying at DC? Because they couldn't really hear you.
Oh, sorry. They were staying in houses around the neighborhood. You know, there's houses. They weren't in Manchester House.
They were around Manchester
Yeah, but
House.
they were in
Nobody.
some of the homes that companions who were in the ashram live in, and then there were privately owned homes, and they were in those, and so everybody was in across the street, basically. Yeah, the meals were in Manchester House. That was a
and the
big deal.
meetings at night.
The
So
meetings.
that's what I was going to say about the. How did they feel? Because then at the night, in the evening, Jay and Walker and different people would say what the next day was going to be. And it was always so sweet. The children would be lying on the floor or sitting up, and the meeting was after dinner, and it was like, what's tomorrow going to be? It was very, very sweet. And they every day had some sort of a surprise. You know, I was telling them the other day, they were remembering about how Marshada had each of them receive a Starbucks with part of their meal one time, because she had heard that a lot of people during their vacations take their kids out for a Starbucks, and she didn't want them to.
She ran into a kid, and she said, in the street, she said, what's your favorite thing about, because they come from the Midwest or anywhere, what's your favorite thing about Monrovia? Did you like the golf? Did you like the, they said Starbucks. So that was the genesis of that.
Yeah.
So she just, so they got pretty much, and they really just loved the fact that they had their own, you know, apartment. Basically, the whole family was staying together. Then we had meals together. It was very family oriented, and I think to your point, Angela, it becomes, you know, they really are. It's not a concept. They are family.
You're like fairy godmothers. I mean, you swoop down, you're giving them gifts.
You never know who's the
So
recipient.
you asked the best question. So we're not that. And that was a real issue because we got lots of requests for specific things that they would like to have, including from the parents. And Mersha Connor said, they don't understand what I'm doing. This is not the goose who laid the golden egg.
Yeah.
This is what we know, I know you need, and your children need, and we're giving you that. And the thing about doing this kind of work is you don't solve the problem, you simply alleviate it. So when you give people household goods supplies, the way Cassandra, and you can't imagine what's involved in this 4 times a year. Is it 3 or 4 now? 4. It's back to 4. Yeah. 3, 4. It's a lot of work, and But what it does, and we thought, and people would say, well, they want the Pine Sol, they want the, the toilet paper there, because it frees up their budget to buy other stuff the kids need. So it supports it, but it's not the fairy godmother, and that's not the work. And the families now understand that. I mean, for the most part, they've stopped asking for things that they know we don't do. And to your point about kids who are adjacent, yeah, we all have the cousins and the aunties who are in a black community, that's a friend, or somebody who's remotely related to you. We do some of it if the kids are living at Carver, but we can't afford to take care of everybody, and so we work off of the Carver official list. There are a lot of people living there unofficially, and we, if you were a Carver family and you were part of the program and you have moved, primarily locally, but we have families as far as 3 hours away, you're still part of our program, and you can still come to stuff, and you still get some of the support, not all of it.
Yeah, you still get your birthdays and your this and your that. And we
3
still
hours away.
we send it, or we do what we can, yeah, other Christmas, etc.
Dennis.
Oh, sorry, Dennis.
To the best of my knowledge, I don't know of any entity that has had such close and intimate contact over such a long time as you've had with the people of the Carver Apartments, okay? You said 6 years, you're talking about constant contact, all kinds of different things. Tell us, because this is a matter of almost research in a sense. What changes have you seen? Okay,
Well, some of them.
And I think this is, and I'm not asking for stats.
Yeah, right.
I'm not asking for stats. I'm asking for your appraisal, because no one else does this. There's no one, I mean, I don't, not the Salvation Army.
There might be people, but what we do know is, that quite a few children, didn't show you in the video that they visited Howard, that was quite eye-opening to them, that there are colleges where they could apply for scholarships, and that we would help them apply for scholarships. And then FAFSA's available to them, and Horry County is offering every class for free even now to people. So we just could provide transportation to them and say, make use of this. But so one part of it, and Dennis, you asked a full question, so please pull the hook when I'm asking parts of it that you're not really asking. But one is that, and Jay had a very important point to add, so I'll cover that. But Maisha, for example, you saw her in several pictures. She's the first person on her maternal side. I think her dad has somebody in his family who went to college, but she just left 2 weeks ago, and she has a nest egg from her scholarship sponsorship program, and she's qualified for FAFSA. She did all her own paperwork. She got very excited going to DC, seeing what she wanted to do, and she wants to be a pediatric nurse or pediatric doctor, and she's there, and that would be, not that Mershida wanted that, she wanted you to be happy, to carry forward and not have obstacles that were in the way of what you wanted to do. So that is a very lovely thing. She's doing what she wanted to do. She's not, and I'm going to be crass here, but she's not like a lot of children that we work with, 18 and pregnant.
Yeah.
And then your decisions are narrow. You have fewer choices now. You're a mom. And so these are lovely options. Jay was saying something about one of the events last most when the kids were having all these guests coming in talking to the teens about entrepreneurship and managing money. We did short snaps. I mean, I'm a 15-minute snap it. If they didn't get it in 15 minutes, it's not going to happen. So quick flash fry things with the sponsorship program. But on the last night, I'd hoped Pat Burrell would talk to them, and she got sick. So I thought, kind of a grandma, like, take stock. And I said to them, why do we even care about you? What if you make a lot of money and does it mean you're happy? Is the money the answer? And so I said, what is this? Are we a church? And they said, no, we know you're not a church. I said, are we a charity? And they said, no, we know you're not a charity, because they ask for lots of things and I say no. We all say no. I mean, it's not like he said, they write me all the time, I'm in California, I need an Uber to get home. Like, figure it out. Figure it out. You're not, I can't be on my phone 24/7 rescuing you. I mean, I'm not trying to be a tough love mom, but that's not what we are. Put yourself in the driver's seat and figure out some of these things. Pre-plan. How are you there that you don't have a car or a ride? So, but one of the kids, so I said, well, so what are we? And I went back to what Murshida, they all knew Murshida. Many of them been on the trip. I had the books with me of their trips. Do you mind holding up those 3 books? I have them in that bag. I do. So at the end of events and summers, we sometimes give them photo booklets. It's like a family photos, and they love these because it's, photos from your family outings is hard. I mean, they don't have a lot of things on the walls as guests in the program can tell you, I think. Yeah. So each year they got like a little book of the summer, or and then there's these really pretty pictures of them looking happy, and when it's not so smooth, things are very. They pull these out, they show it to neighbors, like Jean was saying. They'll have someone come over, they'll say, come on over, I'll show you. And they show the book. I was showing so-and-so the book, they want to be part of the program. And so-and-so doesn't have a pen pal, can you get them a pen pal? So the teens in that one event that might answer Dennis's question, they really did feel like it has been just a kind of a family experience and then sitting around this, it's not just us as family, we are all a family, and that is a very true statement in this time. And we've talked about their role as citizens of Myrtle Beach, and we haven't talked about the fact that they're in a city that was walked by the Avatar, but that there's something special here and they want to grow the city. We are there to help them and to be true to their self. And people here, all of the people here who work on the program, they can tell you, am I super soft with them? And I mean, sometimes I have to, we're family, it's tough. Yeah, and then Laura wants to say something.
I want to add something to that, Dennis, directly to address your question. When we started in 2018, Jean and Judy and I were on the cake squad, right? Delivering birthdays, fairly regularly to them. The atmosphere when we started out was difficult. I mean, people were afraid to come out of their apartments. They didn't know each other. There were, there was problems with guns, shootings. Probably a lot of drug stuff, and I don't know how that is now, but the atmosphere has changed enormously. It has really changed. The neighbors associate with each other, they're friends.
Oh, yeah.
The kids play together outside,
They
weren't
weren't
in
doing
each
that
other's
before?
houses.
No,
It's
not at all.
completely
Not even
changed.
amongst each other,
No.
they were not friendly
They
before?
did not know their next door neighbors. The children weren't allowed out because I think the mothers thought it was dangerous. Now, when we drive up with a cake, you almost pray it's raining.
It goes up and
I mean,
down.
I've had to go
Truthfully, it
high,
goes- yeah, it goes up
running
and
with a cake to get it to the house with a whole troop behind me. Whose birthday is it?
Wait, whose is it?
I just wanted to add to it by mentioning yesterday. Yesterday was an outing for the Carver kids, and I thought it was a very, very special outing. And the reason I thought that was because Jay has been teaching swimming lessons to many of these children all summer long, who I think, as you know, swimming is not something that community has been exposed to. And in fact, for a long time, it was illegal for black people to be on the beach at Myrtle Beach. So their moms mostly don't know how to swim. But anyway, over the course of this summer, they've been swimming both in the ocean and in the swimming pool, which is next to one of the houses that we work from. and Jay and Terry and Robert have all been teaching swimming lessons throughout the summer. Yesterday what happened was a graduation. What Jay did was so beautiful, what he did was he wrote certificates of achievement for each of the children who had been in the swimming lessons through the whole summer. And it wasn't like passing an exam, it was like this student learned how to swim on their back, or this student learned how to breathe properly. And every time that one of the kids got their certificate of achievement, everybody would clap and cheer, and they did a demonstration. So the kids would get in the pool and swim down the length of the pool if they could, and swim back if they could, and one of them even did 4 lengths. But all the kids who were there were so supportive and so united. And it was so important, I think, because it was an example of achievement. And that all of the children, I felt, could see or be inside of that feeling of having achieved something important and something new in life.
And not tear each other down for the achievement, actually encourage each other. That's
Right.
actually a different.
Right, it was very, very well.
Yeah, they definitely know that they are not very well supported at school, and they've talked to us about that. And they're not.
So they're going to schools where other kids are definitely doing much better financially, et cetera. I mean, that's.
Right, or that the
that's the
teachers
impression.
know who they are. I mean, they
Well,
know,
well-
they say themselves, we're going back to the ghetto.
But
They
Myrtle
know it.
Beach, Myrtle Beach schools, this figure might be out of date, but 94% of them qualified for Title I, which is free lunch and free breakfast. And all of these kids receive, and one of the problems in the summer is there's no free lunch, and there's no lunch and there's no breakfast. That was why we started with a grocery program, and why we continue to provide groceries. So, but 94% of the city qualifies for this. So. And yet there's tremendous, as you know, disparities in income level here. Just want to go back to something Laura said, because I'd really forgotten about that. It was really interesting what you said about Carver and the atmosphere. Because when you're in it, you don't really, you're just focused on the chaos of the moment. And like last night, we went to Brook Green Gardens. That was the end of the summer event. And we went to the art and light show. And I had been, and we had scoped it out. And actually, Merchant Walker had taken people and liked the idea of this. And so it was hard to enjoy it. But then you realize all these families were walking together. They were walking around. It was quite stunning. But at Carver, the point about the atmosphere, which I had forgotten about, and I remember the gunshot, and I remember the number of times the police were there, lived there, really, and we know it went on in some of the apartments. Mercer Connor said that this would happen if we did this work. They said they would, and that was one of the reasons for the book. So I just want to make clear that people say, well, we didn't know what we were doing. We did know what we were doing because we were told what to do, and we were told how to take care of these kids. And we had some great ideas, which you do with teachers. Well, we should, somebody suggested we think, no, we're not doing that, and it turned out not to be a good idea, whatever those things were. So if you can stay true to, and we're in a particular, and we recognize in a particular category of people who are following a teacher. But if you can do that, and you don't have your ideas of what would be the right thing to do, but you do their idea, that's when the magic happens. And that was one thing, when Laura spoke, I thought, oh my God, Mercer had told me that this would happen, that the atmosphere would change and they would know each other. So thank you for that. I had really forgotten that. I don't remember the good stuff.
Yeah, and to that point, there are things that go up and down, and it is a dangerous place, and there's plenty of big guns and plenty. My husband knows the stories. I'm like, I know certain martial art moves, but it's like, you got a weapon, I'm going to run. It's like, but the thing that's interesting is that it just goes up and down, and part of our privilege of having been there so long is we have people we know in the police, and we have people we know in the church, and we can galvanize people and get some talking going on and move through it quickly, because it's so Anyway, I think that, was there a last question? I know you all are being so polite sitting, but it is probably well past.
It's an hour and a
Yes.
half. A very heady question. You formed a family.
These people, you've used that term. When people die in the family, others grieve. How did the Carver, how did your Carver family react to Murshida Connor's death?
Oh, Murshida, I thought you were talking about Judy.
I thought you were.
Or anyone,
Judy.
anyone's death who has been with them.
It looks like Jay wants to add
Yeah.
something too.
Well, I want to talk about you, but that's why I don't want you talking about you.
Okay. I died recently and I didn't even know.
I said Murshida
No,
Connor
I know,
because
Murshida.
they all probably knew
Some of the
her.
kids cried.
What?
They cried. They were used to when they were on the patio, and they knew she wouldn't be coming out or giving them gift treats or whatever. But they're kids. They quickly shifted. So we're not there when Mercer Walker reads with them. But I had to chase a kid off the porch who'd been there. So I ran up, and the kids were all there. And it's totally different. They've got their arm around him, and he's picking through the gift treats with you like this, you like that. And one of the girls said to him, "She gave you this place?" What kind of business was she in? Actually, I never found out. That's a long story. Would you like a gift treat? So, but we had the matriarch of Carver, who's Judy Butler, who grew up in that project or nearby, and whose family lived there. And she died suddenly in the spring, and it was a big deal, the Carver. She took care of all the children. She would shriek at them, and she was the first person we were introduced to there. And when she said, "Let's give these people a shot," and other people would, starting with her family, but others would give us a hearing. And then she came to every outing. She couldn't always last through the outing. She would collapse somewhere, but she was there. And when she died, it was a big thing there. And so that big funeral at Sandy Grove, and the family only had 3 speakers, and Terry was one of them. So that was a mark of how it goes. But let me make clear about the family. It's an extended family. So it's like when you have a reunion. I was thinking yesterday when we were at that thing, it's like a family reunion. You're at the beach house, people are running around. There's way more food and way more stuff than you're used to. I mean, we do this regularly, but it's not what we would do with our own families, you know. It's like a reunion. It's an extended family. And so cousins you don't hear of, you know, after a few years, or, you know, aunts that, you know, go on. So, and so it's an evolving thing, but it's not like you're my brother, and I mean, you are in that sense, but it's not a hermetically sealed community for us or for them.
And just a little footnote about Judy Butler, because she was so tight to Murshida. She loved whatever Dr. Connor did, and she looked for her at gift treats. And if she came out and we were half in the van, she'd get the kids out of the van to go say goodbye to Dr. Connor. She felt so strongly that this house, that being at the house, she didn't know what it was about the house or what it was about Dr. Connor, but she wanted every child, even if she was responsible for 12 and her life was miserable. Most of the moms would come and they'd sit on the point, and they knew we were watching the kids, and they'd fall asleep on the point. It was their day off. They really, who was going to get that $1 million view and resting in the arms of Mayor Baba's energy? So they would go down. She would work 12 times harder because she felt somehow they had to be in that spot, and that whatever was unspoken. So last year when Murshida had died, it was very, very hard for Judy. And she kept looking over her shoulder. She kept trying to, you know, she liked Walker, but it was just not easy for her. So we were kind of, I don't know, I shouldn't speak for you, but I was not too surprised that she passed. It was like she'd kind of, this was like, you know, when people have their spouse and they don't quite last past, that time she was very, very sad at Murshida's passing. The children were very sad at Judy's passing. So when Judy passed, we had Lizelle, I asked Lizelle's if they had any roses left, and if they would give us some. They gave us buckets of like 75 or 85 beautiful, almost Ecuadorian-sized roses. And we told the children if they wanted to thank Miss Judy for all that she'd done and say a little memorial, that we would take the roses down to the ocean, and they could either throw the rose or they could take the petals. And that ocean was just aloft with rose petals, and the roses would come back and they'd take them apart and they'd say, "Thank you, Miss Judy." It was very, very sweet. So that was a little way we passed that.
I just wanted to end on this because it's funny you bring up, we're talking about Mersha's death, but as Terry said, Judy's death, it was a big shock to us. I was asked to come down for the funeral, and I did. But the key, the core of the whole program was summed up in something, an interaction I had with Judy. One time, I don't remember what the context was.
Shoes.
Hmm?
The shoes. She was getting the shoes.
She was getting
She said
shoes.
Miss-
Yeah,
Miss Shoes.
yeah. She had beautiful shoes, and she had been given shoes for church, and she looked fantastic. And she said, Dr. Carroll loves me. And I said, in my sort of Jay way, I said, I know she does. And she looked at me with those eyes that has lived a life, and she said to me, "No, you don't."
She hugged herself and she
She
leaned
hugged
against the car and she said,
"No, you don't."
"No, Miss Carroll loves me." So she felt that was, I mean, and pretty much that's just the culmination, is they feel Baba's love. We just get to be the recipients of that. The family that we are all a part of, that Dennis is saying, is not that we are in charge of the family. It is equal for us and anyone who comes there. It's just no one is the giver and no one is the receiver, and that is not cliche. That is the truth.
We were trying to end.
Yeah,
But
that's
Cassandra
the-
should have the last
Do you
word.
want to say the last word, my friend?
Sure. The last word is to invite you all to Yukon Dunes. We are going to have an open house there on Saturday, August 24th, from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And Robert has the invitation. Oh, you gave them all back to me. Robert is getting the invitation, so each of you and every one of you that might like to join us there on that day, we look forward to seeing you. And thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Robert is